So you requested a deep dive on this whole reclaiming masculinity thing.
Uh-huh.
And you've been looking into men's rights stuff, particularly the red pill perspective.
Right.
And you wanted to unpack this book, specifically The Red Pill Revolution, A Man's Guide to Reclaiming His...
Okay.
And from what I can tell, it really focuses on the challenges that men are facing today.
Yeah.
Especially in the family court system. And I know you're interested in this idea of covert contracts and how those play out.
Right.
So let's see what this book has to say about all of that.
Sounds good.
And whether there are any insights we can pull out for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's fascinating how this book kind of jumps right into the fire.
Oh, yeah.
The author, Conrad Riker.
Okay.
He uses some pretty strong language, you know.
Oh, really?
He compares the family court system to a modern-day inquisition.
Wow.
And he argues that it's basically designed to extract resources from men.
He doesn't pull any punches, does he?
Not really, no.
I mean, just look at some of these statistics he throws out there.
Oh, yeah.
He talks about the average child support payment being over $1,100 a month, alimony lasting for decades.
Right.
He even mentions cases where men have been driven to bankruptcy because of divorce settlement.
Yeah, it can be devastating.
It's crazy.
And that's just the financial piece, you know.
Right.
Riker also argues that there's this rush to judgment in family courts.
Really?
Where speed is prioritized over a fair examination of the evidence.
Interesting.
You know, a really thorough examination.
So how does this connect to the whole idea of covert contracts that you were talking about?
Well, Riker suggests that the family court system operates on a lot of unspoken assumptions that tend to disadvantage men.
Okay.
It's like there's this hidden script that everyone's following, but nobody's acknowledging it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and he argues that this lack of transparency makes it really difficult to challenge decisions that might be biased,
I see.
you know, to really get a fair hearing.
He even includes anecdotes about men who were denied custody, despite being the primary caregiver.
Right.
It almost feels like he's saying that fatherhood is being systematically devalued.
Well, that's a key theme that runs throughout the book.
Right.
Riker argues that men are caught in this double bind, where they're told to embrace traditional masculine traits like strength and assertiveness, but then they're shamed or ridiculed for actually exhibiting them.
Yeah, it's like society is sending these mixed messages about what it means to be a man these days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Riker introduces this concept of the soft man, who's basically been stripped of his traditional masculine.
Interesting.
He's concerned about this decline in male leadership and purpose. And he ties this back to the erosion of traditional gender roles.
So it sounds like he's making a connection between these societal shifts and what he sees as a crisis of masculinity.
Oh, absolutely he is.
Yeah.
And he even points to the rise of feminism and Marxism as factors that have contributed to this shift.
So for Riker, reclaiming traditional masculinity is about more than just personal fulfillment.
It seems that way.
It's about pushing back against these larger ideological forces.
Right.
Wow.
And he really emphasizes the importance of men stepping up, embracing their roles as providers, leaders, and fathers.
And this all ties back into the family court system, right?
It does.
He seems to see that as kind of a key battleground in this larger cultural war.
Definitely. He argues that family courts often fail to recognize the importance of involved fatherhood for children's well-being.
He's got some pretty strong opinions about shared custody, doesn't he?
He does. He advocates for shared custody to be the default, arguing that it's in the best interest of the children to have strong relationships with both parents.
I see.
You know, he sees the current system as biased against fathers.
Okay.
And he believes it needs a major overhaul.
Pretty radical stance.
It is.
Wow.
Yeah, he's definitely not pulling any punches.
So we've talked about the financial burdens, the rush to judgment, and this idea of a hidden script.
Right.
And now this concept of the soft man and the erosion of traditional gender roles. It's a lot to take in, but it sounds like Riker is painting a pretty bleak picture of the state of masculinity today.
He is. He's definitely sounding the alarm bells.
But is it all doom and gloom, or does he offer any solutions?
Well, he does. He has a whole section on what he calls the red pill prescription, where he outlines specific steps men can take to reclaim their masculinity and navigate these challenges.
All right, so let's dive into that in the next part of our deep dive.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And it's not just the legal stuff, you know.
Right.
Riker really gets into the psychological and emotional toll this all takes on men.
Yeah.
He argues that being separated from their children, you know, often unjustly in his view, it really contributes to the mental health crisis that men are facing.
That's a powerful point. I mean, he cites those statistics about male suicide rates being so much higher than women's.
Right.
And he links that, at least in part, to this sense of loss and alienation that a lot of fathers are experiencing.
Absolutely. And he goes on to say that men are often told to just man up.
Yeah,
You
right.
know, like suppress their emotions,
Right.
which just makes the problem worse.
Of course.
And he argues that men need healthy outlets for expressing their emotions
Yeah.
and building resilience.
Okay.
He talks about the importance of things like brotherhood mentorship and physical activity.
You know, it's interesting because you mentioned earlier being interested in how societal institutions have changed.
Oh.
And Riker really seems to believe that men need to create their own support systems, almost like a counterculture, to push back against these harmful societal messages.
Yeah, it's like he's calling for a return to a more traditional sense of masculinity,
Okay.
where men support and guide each other.
Exactly. And this leads into his whole call to action, right?
It does.
He doesn't just want men to sit around and complain about the situation.
Yeah.
He wants them to actively reclaim their masculinity.
Absolutely. He lays out several concrete steps that men can take.
Like what?
Well, he's a big advocate for physical fitness.
Okay.
Not just for the physical benefits, but for the mental toughness and discipline it cultivates.
It's like he sees physical strength as a metaphor for reclaiming a sense of agency and control in your life.
Exactly. And he ties this back to his earlier arguments about rejecting that soft man archetype. You know, he wants men to embrace those traditional masculine values of strength, resilience, and leadership.
And of course, this all connects back to his views on fatherhood.
Right.
He believes that men need to fight for their right to be active and involved fathers.
He's very critical of what he sees as a bias against fathers and family courts. And he argues that men need to be aware of these covert contracts that he believes are at play. He encourages men to really understand their legal rights, to advocate for themselves, and to challenge the system when necessary.
He even dedicates a whole chapter to what he calls spectral evidence, where he talks about the complexities of custody battles and how children's testimony is often used against fathers.
Right.
It's pretty intense stuff.
It is. He argues that children can be easily influenced or manipulated,
Yeah.
especially in high conflict divorces, and that their statements should be treated very carefully.
Okay.
He believes that parental alienation is a real problem, and he offers some strategies for fathers to protect themselves.
It sounds like he's saying that men need to be proactive and strategic in navigating the family court system.
Absolutely.
It's not enough to just be a good dad. You have to be a savvy advocate for yourself and your rights.
That's definitely the message he's sending.
Wow.
And he connects this back to his broader point about reclaiming masculinity.
Okay.
You know, he believes that men need to stand up for themselves and their children.
Right.
And that this requires a certain level of assertiveness and a willingness to fight for what they believe in.
He's definitely not afraid to call things as he sees them. Is he?
Not at all. He's really urging men to wake up to what he sees as this hidden reality, you know, where traditional masculinity is under attack.
Right.
And men need to fight back to reclaim their rightful place in society.
It's a bold perspective for sure.
It is.
And it sounds like it's really resonating with you.
It is. I think he's tapping into a lot of frustrations that men are feeling today, particularly those who feel like they've been marginalized or silenced by the current cultural climate.
Yeah, it's interesting because you mentioned wanting to understand the history of our institutions before they were captured, as you put it, by feminists and Marxists.
Right.
Riker really seems to echo that sentiment in this book.
He believes that there's been a systematic effort to undermine traditional masculinity and to push an agenda that he sees as harmful to men and to society as a whole.
So what does he propose as a solution? Is it all about fighting back and reclaiming what's been lost?
He definitely advocates for men to take action, but he also stresses the importance of personal growth and development. He talks about the need for men to become more self-aware, to develop their emotional,
Right.
and to build strong, supportive relationships with other men.
It sounds like he's trying to strike a balance between the traditional and the modern.
Yeah.
He wants men to reclaim those core masculine values. But he also recognizes that the need to adapt to the changing times.
He's calling for a kind of evolution of masculinity,
Okay.
one that embraces both strength and sensitivity,
Interesting.
both action and introspection.
That's a good way to put it. He's not just promoting a return to the past.
Right.
He's trying to forge new paths forward for men.
Exactly. And he believes that this path requires men to be both warriors and healers,
Wow.
protectors and providers, leaders and mentors.
There's a lot to unpack there.
There is.
It's not a simple message,
No, it's not.
but it's clearly one that's resonating with a lot of men.
He's really challenging men to step up and become the best versions of themselves, both for their own sake and for the sake of their families and communities.
This deep dive into the Red Pill Revolution has been really insightful.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground,
We have.
from the challenges men face in family courts to the broader societal forces that Riker believes are contributing to this crisis of masculinity. And, you know, one thing that really struck me was how he connects the dots between all these different aspects of men's lives. Like, he doesn't just focus on the legal and societal challenges.
Right.
He also digs into the psychological and emotional side of things.
Absolutely. Like when he talks about the traditional role of the father
Yeah.
as protector and provider being undermined.
Right.
You know, he suggests that this emphasis on softer, more nurturing qualities in men has left a lot of fathers feeling confused and unsure of how to navigate their roles.
It's almost like he's saying men are being pulled in these two opposite directions.
Yeah.
On the one hand, they're told to be strong and assertive, but on the other, they're expected to be sensitive and emotionally available.
He calls it a double bind.
Yeah.
And he argues that it can lead to a lot of anxiety, depression, and, you know, just a sense of failure.
And he doesn't let the media off the hook either.
Oh, no.
He has a whole chapter called The Media's War on Men,
Right.
where he argues that the media often portrays men in a negative light, reinforcing these stereotypes
Yeah.
and contributing to this whole attack on masculinity.
Like how fatherhood is often depicted in sitcoms and commercials.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the bumbling dad who can't do anything right.
Right, right.
He also criticizes the media's coverage of things like domestic violence and sexual assault, arguing that it often ignores male victims.
It's interesting. This ties back into his point about feminism and the erosion of traditional masculinity.
Exactly.
He sees the media as complicit in this shift, you know, actively promoting a worldview that he believes is harmful to men.
Yeah, he argues that the media is constantly pushing these narratives
Right.
that portray men as either fools or predators.
Wow.
And he encourages men to be aware of this bias and to challenge it whenever they see it.
So it's not enough to just be aware of these covert contracts in your personal life.
No.
Like in the family court system.
Right.
He's saying you need to be aware of them on a societal level as well.
Absolutely. And he goes even further. He
Brilliant.
suggests that men should actively support media outlets
Okay.
that offer a more balanced perspective and, you know, even create their own content
Wow.
that celebrates positive masculinity.
It's like he's calling for a complete paradigm shift.
Yeah.
A red pill revolution where men take control of the narrative
Right.
and present a different image of masculinity to the world.
He's definitely advocating for men to be more proactive
Okay.
and reclaim their voices in the cultural.
It's a powerful message.
It is.
And it's clearly resonating with a lot of men who feel like they've been unfairly portrayed and stereotyped.
I think it taps into this deeper desire for meaning and purpose that a lot of men are searching for today.
And this brings us back to your initial interest in understanding how institutions have shifted
Right.
and how those shifts have impacted men's lives. Riker's book really seems to offer a framework for understanding those changes.
It does.
And he doesn't shy away from offering solutions,
Yeah.
even if they're controversial.
He's not afraid to challenge the status quo.
Yeah.
And whether you agree with everything he says or not,
All right.
I think his book raises some really important questions.
It's definitely been a thought-provoking deep dive for me.
Absolutely.
And I hope it's given you some valuable insights into the red pill perspective and the challenges that men are facing today.
It has.
If you want to explore these ideas further,
Yeah.
you can find The Red Pill Revolution on Amazon, Kindle, and Google Play Books.
It's definitely worth a read.
All right, well, thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
And until next time, keep those covert contracts in mind.
And keep questioning everything.